Hi, this is David Mackrath here from the Bible Believers podcast. This isn't a Bible study as such, this is just me calling out Tousi TV. Tousi TV is an alternative media platform on YouTube run by Mahyar Tousi. Now, I want to start by saying for the most part I have great respect for Tousi's work. He's certainly shown himself to be courageous. He's put himself in danger in order to report things going on in London. He's also said things that need to be said that could get him into a lot of trouble with certain parties. So this is by no means a large-scale attack on Tousi TV. But he put out a video last Monday which is quite significant, quite important, in which he criticised the London police who police Speaker's Corner on Sunday afternoons. And I want to challenge that because I think he's misrepresented what went on. I think he's misrepresented the police. And I think that the potential consequences of that could be quite significant and serious. So Tousi TV is a good platform, doing excellent work, but I think they've missed the mark on this particular issue, the issue of policing at Speaker's Corner. And I want to issue my own defence of the policing at Speaker's Corner, being a preacher who goes there regularly, to explain what I see. And to speak up for what I think is an extraordinarily important matter. There was an incident on Sunday afternoon, and this incident was going on when I arrived. A certain individual, known to everybody as James, was there being arrested by the police. The information we have is that James was arrested for something he said at a previous event, and the story going out on the web, he was arrested for simply saying one word, shalom, to a Muslim march, the word shalom, of course, being Hebrew for peace. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not, but very quickly a video went up by Mahyar Tousi implying that the Metropolitan Police, the Royal Parks Police as they are at Speaker's Corner, had demonstrated two-tier policing by arresting James merely for saying shalom. I doubt that's the case. I very much doubt that's the case. And I think that we do very well to wait and see what happens next. In the video of James' arrest, which is up on YouTube, you can see him getting very upset and very angry about being arrested. I can confirm that the police were very concerned indeed and very made considerable efforts to make sure that James's rucksacks, which he said were with him, did not go missing. I think we do well to wait and see what comes out of this, whether James is taken to court or convicted or anything else. I don't want to say too much. I myself find James to be quite inflammatory, but I don't think this was two-tier policing. So this reporting of the incident was really premature, and really we don't have the full picture. And in this there was considerable criticism of the police. The police were picking on Christians, Tousi tells us. They're picking on people who stand up for Israel and favouring Muslims. Now, let me, before I go on, simply say that's not been my experience at Speaker's Corner by any means. I also want to say this, that I think it's very dangerous for us to misrepresent the police for the simple reason that, first of all, they're doing a good job, and secondly, we need their help. So let me carry on. I've been preaching at Speaker's Corner most Sundays for the last 8 months. During that time, I have seen the police intervene on a number of occasions with things that go on. Sometimes things get very heated there. Most of the people at Speaker's Corner appear to be Muslims, defending Islam, and sometimes Christians can be surrounded and intimidated by angry Muslims. There are a number of Christians who go there regularly. Some of them are very courageous. My experience of the police, and there's usually up to about 10 police officers there on a Sunday, sometimes less, is that their policing has been proportionate. I've seen situations where in heated discussions the police have stood off, and that's really important in order to maintain freedom of speech. I've seen other situations where things were just about to boil over and the police have stepped in. Their policing has been proportionate. They've been both restrained and active. Their policing has been patient. I've seen them suffer considerable abuse, verbal abuse and threats, and they've been patient and they haven't responded in kind. That's professionalism as well. So I think their policing has been proportionate, patient and professional in the way that they've handled things. I think they have held back in the interests of free speech and stepped in when it was necessary. As I say, unfortunately, Speaker's Corner can become very heated, and sometimes there are even threats of violence, but I think it would be impossible for us to be there without the police. Now, when it comes to the question of... So my opinion is they've done a really good job, as I have observed it over the last 8 months. My opinion is, as regards the Israeli defence question, there have been many of us who've stood under Israeli flags and preached, many who've spoken up for Israel there. And, for example, when Dr. Banda was knocked off his platform preaching under an Israeli flag and the flag was stolen, the police stepped in immediately and they were very concerned to be supportive to Dr. Banda, who'd been assaulted. They stepped in to protect a man who was preaching under an Israeli flag. It's clear that some people there are provoked by seeing an Israeli flag. There are many Palestinian flags there and other flags, some of them I think illegal, but the police have not picked on people, as far as I can see, who have defended Israel. There have been some very bold defences of Israel at Speaker's Corner, and the police have, as far as I can tell, protected those who spoke up in favour of Israel. It would be impossible to speak up in favour of Israel at Speaker's Corner without the police being there. It simply couldn't happen. We need the police. So to say that the police, this is two-tier policing because James is arrested, and to say that the police are biased or in some way attacking people for defending Israel has not been my experience. There's been some very bold defences of Israel, and the police have protected those who defended Israel. Whether or not they should have taken action against others there who were on the fringe of terrorist organisations, I can't say. Also, I need to add this, that sometimes I have seen Christians or those calling themselves Christians behaving aggressively at Speaker's Corner and then being surprised when the police step in to restrain them. There's no place for anybody calling himself a Christian for being aggressive. You can be provoked at Speaker's Corner, you can be flustered at Speaker's Corner, you can be surrounded, but there is absolutely no place. Fervent argument, even heated argument, but never aggression on the part of Christians. But I doubt whether some of these people really are Christians. So that gives the opportunity to Muslims to say that Christians are violent. We're not. We can never be violent. We can never spread the gospel by violence. We must love our enemies. We must love every one of those people at Speaker's Corner. And there is this false... There have been many videos put up on YouTube. This false narrative that the police are somehow biased. And this I find very worrying. We need the police. We need the police to protect us, and they do protect us. Now, what the police can't do is step in and say Islam is wrong or Christianity is wrong. They can't step in, and unless the arguments themselves are provoking others to violence, they can't step in and judge what's being said. Muslims have to be free to promote Islam peacefully at Speaker's Corner. So that's not the role of the police. It's our role to challenge Islam. It's our duty to speak up for the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ. But without the police, we just could not be there. Without the police, we can't stand up to those who are stronger than us, who are more than us, even though I've been praying for 1,000 singing Christians to show up at Speaker's Corner, and I'll continue to pray for that. I was still the only one singing last Lord's Day. But we cannot do what we do without the police. So we must bear that in mind. If we are constantly deriding the police, accusing them of being two-tier, accusing them of being biased against Christians and those who are pro-Israel, and this is not true, then we are pulling the rug out from under our own feet. It is impossible for us to have freedom of speech without the police being there, because there are others who do not want us to have freedom of speech and who see Speaker's Corner as being crucial to their agenda. So what should we do with the police? Well, again, let me just emphasise that I have watched the police very carefully for the last 8 months, and I have seen professionalism, patience and proportionate action by the police at all times. Now, you're going to say to me the police do get it wrong, and people will bring up the case of Hatton Tash. Hatton Tash was wrongly arrested at Speaker's Corner. This was taken to court and the police were found to be at fault. And they made a big mistake in arresting Hatton Tash. That is a failure on the part of the police and a mistake. But we mustn't judge the police by all their actions by what happened to Hatton Tash. That's been put right. She was mistreated. There's no question about that. That has been found to be the case, and that matter has been put right. But I have not seen the police going out of their way to undermine Christians. I've seen them support everybody fairly. I've seen them there to make sure that the speaking is peaceful and that it doesn't boil over into any kind of aggression. I've seen their behaviour proportionate, patient, and professional at all times. Now, whether or not there is some backroom agenda at very senior levels in the London Council chambers or in the police, Metropolitan Police, I can't tell you. Saying hands off and don't defend the Christians, I can't tell you, because there is this constant cry of two-tier policing. What I can tell you is that the police officers who I see on the ground have behaved professionally, fairly, patiently and proportionately the whole time that I've been there. That makes me suspect that that the arrest of James, we need to wait and see what comes out of this. We shouldn't jump to the conclusion that James was being persecuted because he was defending Israel. We need the whole picture before we jump on the bandwagon and say the police are deliberately arresting people because there's two-tier policing. We need to support the police. That means we need to behave within the law ourselves, and we need to give them space to do their work. We need to respect the police. It's quite reasonable that we respect the police. We should thank them. Without them, we couldn't be there. I think they're worthy of thanks. They're worthy of considerable thanks for the work they do. How many people would want to be there on a Sunday afternoon in boiling hot sunshine, in heavy uniform, defending the peace? But that's what they're doing. We should pray for them. They're hearing the gospel as well, and we love them in the Lord Jesus Christ, and long that they would also find the Lord Jesus Christ. If the police are removed from Speaker's Corner, that's the end of freedom of speech. Remember that Speaker's Corner is the home of free speech for the whole world. And if we lose Speaker's Corner, then the whole nation could go down like dominoes in terms of speakers free. Up and down the country today, there'll be speakers in the open air preaching the gospel on street corners in towns and cities throughout England today. But if Speaker's Corner goes down, known as the home of free speech, not just for England or London, but for the whole world, then free speech is lost. So I want to suggest, and I want to also submit, that we must defend the police. They are our friends. We must do everything we can to work with the police, to have the police on our sides, to support the police. And then if there is two-tier policing, and I very much doubt it based on what I've seen, if there is two-tier policing at Speaker's Corner, then it will clearly be seen, and we can address that. But by simply putting out video after video, attacking the police, criticising the police, we are pulling the rug out from under our own feet. And now finally, I do want to thank the police, because I think they've done a very good and difficult job at Speaker's Corner, and I value their work very highly.